Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation CLIL, a practical guide for new teacher. We are Kelly Tatiana García Cárdenas, María Sofía Martínez Ospino, Emanuel Mercado Montesino, Milena Patricia Zuluaga García, and Ronald Orozco Padilla. Today we'll explain what CLIL is, why it is important in education, and how teachers can use it in Colombian classroom through practical activities and useful recommendations. Let's begin by understanding what CLILs mean. CLIL stands for Content and Language Integrated Learning. This methodology combines learning a school subject with learning a foreign language at the same time. Instead of teaching English as isolate grammar and vocabulary, students use English to learn meaningful content from subjects such as science, social studies, art, or mathematics. CLIL is based on the 4CS framework. The first seat is content, which refers to the knowledge student learning different school subjects. The second is communication, because students use English to express ideas, ask questions, and interact with others. The third is cognition, which develop high order thinking skills such as analyzing, comparing, predicting, and solving problems. Finally, the fourth is culture, which encourage a student to appreciate their own culture while understanding other cultures. One important idea to remember is that CLIL isn't about speaking perfect English. It is about using English as a tool to learn something meaningful. Now that we understand what CLIL is, let's explore why this methodology is so beneficial for students and teachers.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Well, now let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the using clerk in the classroom. So, for example, one of the greatest advantage in is that the students become more motivated because they use English for a real purpose instead of simply memorizing vocabulary or grammar rules. And another important benefit is meaningful vocabulary learning. Students remember new words more easily because they learn them while studying interesting topics. And for example, during a science lessons about plants, students naturally learn words such as leaf, stem, roots, sunlight, or another science-specific content of vocabulary. And these words become meaningful because students connect them with experiments, observations, or classroom discussions. And CLIL also improve communication skills. Students participate in conversations, answer questions, work in groups, and explain their ideas using English in authentic situations. Or in this specific case, in the experiment about plants. In addition, CLIL developed critical thinking. Instead of repetition information, students in this method compare, classify, analyze, solve problems, and create projects. So for the last, another important benefit is that CLIL promotes collaboration. Students learn from one another through pair work, group discussions, and comparative or corporative activities. So for these reasons, we recommend use this method in our classrooms because clear creating engagement lessons where language learning becomes natural and meaningful. And that's all. So now let's see how these ideas can be applied in Colombian classrooms. So, Emmanuel, go ahead.
Thank you, Maria Sofia. A common misconception is that the CLIL approach can only be implemented in bilingual or private school. However, CLIL can also be applied successfully in regular public school when teachers adapt the language to the student proficiency level. The goal is not for students to master English immediately, but to use it as a meaningful tool while learning content from different subject areas. For example, in second grade science class, the teacher can bring a real plant into the class and introduce simple vocabulary so the root, stem, leaf, and flower. Students observe the plant, identify each part, and answer simple questions in English. In this way, they learn scientific concepts while naturally practice the language. The language. Another example is our lesson student for a simple introduction in English. So draw a circle, paint the sky blue, or color the paper colorful, and sometimes the learning vocabulary relate the color, shape, the classroom material, and action. This show how Clay promote language learning through meaningful classroom activity is the instead of its solely grammar. Grammar aside, Klein can also the integrate into social studies. Students compare Colombian region by describing the climate, the typical food, landscape, tradition, and economy activity of each region, while the support of map, picture, and graphics organize the learning content while expanding her English vocabulary and develop communicate skills. These samples show that in the CLIL approach, English is not the final learning object, but a tool for understanding academic content. As a result, students develop both language and subject knowledge in a meaningful and interactive way. Why interactive way? Uh, mm, now, now let's experience some short client activities that teacher can easily use it in class.
Emanuel, I am Milena Zuluaga Garcia. I am going to present the mini activities. I will start by saying that CLI isn't just theory. It can be easily applied to short activities where students learn content while practicing English. Now that we know what is CLI, is why it's important. Let's look at two simple activities that any teacher can do in class. Our first activity combines science and English. The teacher should feature all four fruits: an apple, a banana, an orange, and mango. The student looked at the picture while answering simple questions. For example, which fruit is yellow? Which color is the apple? Which fruit do you like? The student responds using complete sentences such as the banana is yellow. I like the mango. This activity develops observation skill, vocabulary, and oral expression. Our second activity combines the topic of weather using English. The teacher chooses weather symbols representing sunny, rainy, cloudy, and windy days. A student answer the question such as what's the weather like today? What clothes should we wear? A student respond, it's sunny. We should wear a jacket. These activities are very interesting and well situated for Columbia Classroom as they require very few materials while fostering meaningful communication. Finally, let's review some practical recommendations for teachers you want to start using CLA. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ronald Orozco, and following our group's analysis of CLIL in the Colombian context, I will present practical, student centered, and purposeful recommendations tailored for the pre intermediate learners. When teaching content through second language, success relies on clear structure and active student engagement. Let's explore on how to achieve this effectively. First, let's look at the CAL stands for. Content and Language Integrated Learning combines subject, content with language learning and developing both simultaneously in meaningful contexts. It integrates language skills with subject knowledge, encourage meaningful communication, and supports cognitive and linguistic development. The focus is always on using English as a tool for understanding. To make CLIL work, we follow four foundational principles. Principle 1 is student centered learning, where learners actively construct knowledge through exploration. Principle 2 focus on low teacher talking time, meaning that teacher guides and elicits rather than lecturing. Principle 3 requires clear, memorable context using relevant visuals. Finally, the Principle 4 provides scaffolded language support to help students progress toward real communicative use. How do we implement these principles daily? We use three core strategies. For this, the first strategy is eliciting questions to activate prior knowledge and engage learners meaningfully about the topic. Second, frequent concept checking questions to ensure understanding and guide the learning process. And third, visual aids and graphics organizers to support both technical vocabulary and content comprehension simultaneously, lowering the language barrier. A successful CLIL lesson follows a clear three-stage learning flow. It begins with noticing, where we introduce new language and content using visual and examples. Next is control practice, utilizing guide exercises to reinforce understanding. It culminates in communicative use, featuring engaging tasks that prompt real life language use and independent student output. To conclude, remember these three golden rules for your classroom. Always plan with a clear linguistic and content objectives so learners know what to achieve. Use varied question types to check understanding frequently. And design energetic group tasks where students interact and describe diagrams using the target language. Thank you very much for your time. Till next time.